Nigerians see on the spot what progress was being made in the key sectors based on what we were doing. And so when we designed the National Good Governance Tour, it was an opportunity also to start a national conversation. When we go on this inspection, we say we'll also talk to the people of Nigeria. What are their opinions? What do they think about the progress that government is making? And when we finished the design, we now sold it to all the governors through the National Economic Council, and they all accepted that there was a need for the 3 tiers of government, regardless of our partisan platforms, to work together to show the progress of our democracy and the challenges that we face at different levels. So we went from there to the national, the governors accepted, and we moved to the Nigerian Governors Forum, where we discussed the details of the program and agreed to work together. So what I was doing was not a federal government program. It was a national program for all the 3 tiers of government, for all the political parties in government. We all accepted. And so the criticisms that are coming are purely partisan, and they have to do maybe as the program is moving on, you won't rule out the fact that some are beginning to get afraid. Because when you take journalists to projects, to particular states where everything is laid bare, it's not everybody that may have the confidence. But I believe the National Good Governance Tour has been so educating. And one thing it has brought out is that our media are not reporting democracy, they are not reporting progress, they are not reporting development programs. We are just discussing politicians. And that is why the politicians take all the headlines. No other thing takes the headlines in this nation today. And it is wrong. And I think when we went to some of the states, I can tell, I don't want to mention names here, some of the states that have never been mentioned on the pages of our newspapers, we discovered they were doing much better than those that are on the papers every day. And that is not correct. So what I've done as a Minister of Information is to make available to the media, to stakeholders in the polity, the progress being made in the country. And I can't think of any better way of involving the people in the development programs of government than we have done through the National Good Governance Tour. Yes, there are criticisms. Some have said maybe we should reduce the number of people going with us. Yes, we are looking into that. Some of the criticisms are also operational, and we're looking at those issues. But generally speaking, I think the tour has been a tremendous success.
Well, you know, governors, Lagos, Edo, they all spoke up one time or the other about this good governance tour, and they find fault with it. But you say that it was agreed at the level of the Governors Forum, of which they are members. So how come? Because some of them think, look, how is it even funded? Why should they be the ones to foot the bill? And it was ill-conceived. You don't need a good governance tour for people to know if you're really working. They have to feel it. And so much going on.
That was really the strange thing that we had. Let me tell you that the Deputy Governor of Lagos was on the committee that approved the final template of the program. And all of them agreed. So if we say we're doing a joint program, how come you don't want to take a responsibility? Is it fair to say they have agreed to do something together and you say you can't take responsibility? At any rate, we have never asked any state government to give us a kobo. We have never written, I had some outlandish statement that I was asking people to give the National Good Governance to 150 million. We have never asked any state government to give us a kobo for the conduct of the National Good Governance Tour.
Sorry,
listen to me. But what the governors and all agreed was that they will provide some logistics, maybe falling of vehicles and other things when we are moving through their states. And if they want maybe to provide a meal or so for the team, I cannot stop them. But there has not been any tax on any state government to give us money to run it. So the reality of it is that we agreed to work on this together. And I think what was happening was purely partisan. What I heard the governor of Lagos say was that we want to make government look like if we are busy. So it was not because of any money to run the tour, but it's that they are taking a partisan stand against the tour. So you can see that we agreed to do something and we do not have honor to follow through. And we are gentlemen. So I think, honestly speaking, those are maybe purely partisan attacks on the tour, but it is moving on to every state.
Even though you said, well, you wouldn't want to mention some states, I think maybe a state or two perhaps should be mentioned by you. If you say you were going around and you inspected projects and some states don't have that kind of coverage, perhaps you should be able to tell us one or two states that haven't had coverage, and they were. We understand.
We agreed
but the other states will understand that you are trying to project some states that have not been in the news quite lately and that have been doing fantastically well.
Well, if you ask me, every state is making tremendous progress. But there are states who have never heard about them. And we went out there and we saw gigantic projects. I'll give you an example. When we went to Ebonyi State, for example, and we saw the water projects, we saw the state secretariat being built, we saw the training institute, we saw the roads and the bridges, across River Ebonyi, in all parts of the state. Journalists were asking, what happened? How come these people are completely forgotten? No mention on the pages of newspapers, no mention on any television program. Everything is concentrated around Lagos and its environs. And there are people who specialize on performing on the pages of newspapers. But when we go around, we see that it is not so. We also went to Plateau, in spite of all the violence there. We saw tremendous programs by Governor Jang. We didn't know how he was doing it in the midst of all the stories about violence, an Olympic-sized stadium, roads, agricultural projects, water projects. We were shocked. If you ask members of the team, their opinions have changed. In this nation, if you can't sometimes find your way through the media, you are forgotten. And there are high performing. We went also to Anambra State. We saw what Pt.4 was doing in that state. And we have been to places, of course, high revenue states are there. But when you go to Akwa Ibom, you will see that there is tremendous infrastructure outlay. You can say that, of rivers. You can say that of several of the Niger Delta states. A lot of work being done across. But the reality is that these things don't come to the front page. They don't get reported. They are not topical issues. So,
Honorable Minister,
hello?
just a moment here. Did you take that up with the journalists? Because if they claim to feign ignorance, and at the end of the day they were telling you, oh, we didn't know that Ebonyi State or this other state is looking so good. Don't they have correspondence or bureau in those areas? Why were they telling you all that story?
I think the problem is that we in the media have decided maybe we want to and if you look at it's politics that makes news only. You will see, for example, that
but we can't say
you look at the faces that take the front page in Nigeria, that the same old faces of the last 40 to 50 years, whatever they say is front page. Nobody is discussing development. And that is why we decided to go around and see things for ourselves. And we're happy. Look at the power projects, for example. Until I went around and I was showing people that the federal government was building 10 new power plants. Many Nigerians didn't believe. So we went around, and when we saw those power projects, in all the places we went to a hofba and the outskirts of Benin City, 5 kilometers. The federal government is building a very huge power plant there. The journalists in Benin City didn't know until we took them there. And they said, they didn't know the work has reached at this level and will generate power by the end of this year. We went to Sapele, we were already generating power. We went to Geometric in Aba, and people were shocked. So you see, a lot of work is going on in this country. Before I rode on the train from Ilorin to Ofa, people didn't know that the train was working. But we rode again from Zungiru to Ateri in Kaduna. Today the trains are moving, but you don't see the stories on the pages of newspapers. Well, we are beginning now this year to end the reconstruction from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. We expect the train to move from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri before the end of the year. It is not a newspaper front page story because we are just reporting attacks. We are not reporting development.
But does it then mean that it is just one good governance tour out of, for some governors who have been in office for 8 years? Is that what the people need to know that will justify their being in governance for 8 years? Just once?
No. The good governance tour is a continuum. It's not going to end at a particular point. We hope to do so routinely. So long as we are there, we will continue to do it. We have just done 16 states. Don't forget, we still have about 20 states to go. So we are still going to do it to be routine. Both the ministerial platform and the good governance tour is now routine. We will continue to visit high-performing projects and also projects that are not performing so that we can look at the challenges and get government to work better. And already there is a lot of competition between the states as we move around. Everybody wants to do something. Even the Federal Executive Council, we are all working hard to show something when we go to the field. So it is indeed an opportunity to get people to work. And we are really seeing a lot of progress in the country.
Just let me
I want to tell Nigerians that our democracy is working, but sometimes we are too negative.
Well, anyway, some would say we're too critical. Perhaps that's the best way to put it. But again, since you've gone around, people, they wouldn't